Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the First Feathers and Fangs Creature Feature, a weekly series in which I talk about some of the amazing animals we get to share this planet with. Now, this week and the few weeks going forward, it's going to be a little different. I'm not going to talk about individual animals per se like I did with my whale videos and the grade 8 videos, as great as they were. I'm going to talk about animal hardware. What do I mean by that? I mean, what tools has nature given certain animals in order to survive? What do they have in their toolbox, so to speak? And I'm going to start with this week's video about amazing animal headwear. Now, headgear in the animal kingdom is broken down into a couple different categories. There's horns, which belongs to the bovid order, which include cattle, goats, antelope, and sheep. There are the cervids, which grow antlers, and those are the deer family, so white-tailed deer, elk, moose, reindeer, all those great guys. There's also a couple of smaller groups. There's the giraffids, which, as you can guess by that name, includes giraffes and their close cousin, the okapi. What's an okapi, you might ask? That's an okapi. Isn't that weird? That is the only living relative of the giraffe. A little bit more about them later, though. So in addition to the bovids, the cervids, and the giraffids, there is also the antilocaprids, which only contain one species in their order, and that is the pronghorn antelope. Now, why are they separate from the others? Well, there's going to be a little bit more about them later. So, let's start off with the bovids. Now, bovid animals grow horns, and they can be straight, they can be curly, they can be spiraled, they can be knotted, and the horns are made of living bone, and they are always covered in a protective layer of keratin. What's keratin? Keratin is the stuff that makes up our fingernails, goes into hair, and this allows the horns to be a permanent fixture in the animal's lives. Horns do not get replaced like deer antlers do. So if an animal loses a horn, that's it. Unfortunately, there's no replacement in the toolbox. The longest horns on any animal belong to the Watusi cattle of Africa, and their horns can reach 8 feet from tip to tip. That's a few feet short of being 2 me laying side by side together. That's impressive. Believe it or not, well, I guess after seeing what the Watusi cattle horn looks like, it's not that hard to believe, but that breed of cattle helped influence breeders in Texas to create the famous Texas Longhorn steers. Unlike horns, moving on from the bovids, we're now in the cervids, antlers are replaced every single year. And it just so happens I've got a prop. First Feathers and Fangs is now doing props. This is a white-tailed deer antler, and as you can see, it's been shed from whoever had it before, but antlers grow from the base of the skull, and they start out as cartilage, and they are covered in a layer of velvet that is rich with blood vessels that provide nutrients to the antlers. Antlers need all sorts of blood and minerals in order to form from cartilage into bone. So the size of the antler doesn't necessarily have to reflect on the age of the deer or moose or elk. It is very much influenced by its diet and how much mineral and nutrient content is in the animal's diet. The largest antlers grown by any species of deer belong to the moose, and they can be 6 feet across. And because of their dish-like shape, they also, in addition to being a great self-defense mechanism and a great way to attract mates, they can use those big satellite dish-looking antlers to help amplify their hearing, which is pretty cool. Now, antlers only occur in male animals, for the most part. Male deer grow the antlers, females don't have to lug around all that extra headgear. Now, this is true of every deer except for the reindeer or caribou. Both male and female caribou grow antlers, and it's unclear why only this one species gets both. It could be an added survival benefit since there are nasty predators up in the frozen north to defend their young from. Who knows? I don't. Giraffids are believed to be some of the first animals animals that developed headgear. And what they possess is something called ossicones. And these are little bumpy extensions of the skull that are literally just bumps coming out of the top of the head that are covered in skin and fur. And there is no other extension. There is no horn that grows out. There is no antler that gets shed every year. They just have these little road bumps on their heads. They are believed to have evolved some 45, 50 million years ago. And it is believed that they shared some sort of common ancestor, one of which branched off to be the bovids, one of which branched off to be the cervids. Everyone knows about the giraffe, and they've seen giraffes. We've all seen them in books, on TV. Not a lot of people know that they actually have a living relative, which is the okapi. Okapis were actually once called jungle giraffes because they live in tropical Central Africa in very dense rainforests, and they are very, very shy and elusive. So they weren't discovered until close to the end of the 19th century. The other order of headgear possessing animals, that's a mouthful, isn't it? is the antilocoprids. And those are made up of one group, and that is the pronghorn antelope. And it's believed that they are some sort of transitional species because they don't really have true horns. They don't grow horns like bovids do. Although they're the little black pronged horns, for lack of a better term. Hey, I wonder if that's how they got their name. Those are made of keratin. So it's like the outside covering of a horn, but it's shed like an antler every year. And underneath that is this little bony bump, similar to an ossicone. So I guess nature just couldn't decide what it wanted to give the pronghorn, so they just took a little of column A, a little of column B, a little of column C, and they did it. Now they are part of a very ancient order. In fact, there are no other antilocoprids alive today with the exception of the American pronghorn antelope. Fun stuff. Now I know what you guys are thinking. There are other animals out there that have horns. This is very true. The most famous of which would probably be the rhino. But, believe it or not, the horns on the face of a rhino are not true horn. They are not made of living bone. They are made entirely of keratin. So pretty much they've got big old sharp fingernails on their face. Yeah, it doesn't sound as awesome when you say it that way. But they're anchored to the front of the skull. And they are used primarily for defense and for intimidating any would-be rivals, would-be predators, although as an adult rhino, they really don't have a lot to fear from predators. Rhino versus a lion, for example, kind of one-sided. Rhino 9 times out of 10 is going to win that. No matter what the case, when it comes to animal headwear, it is believed that it all serves the same function and all kind of came about in the same way, evolutionarily speaking. It is believed that a combination of the need for protection from predators with sharp claws and sharp teeth made it so the animals that had a little bit of an advantage would survive. If a prey animal can fight back, then he has all that more chance to pass on his genetics. Speaking of passing on genetics, the other driving component besides animal headwear, be it the horn, the ossicone, the antler, the hybrid horn, antler, ossicone deal of the pronghorn, it is all driven by impressing members of the opposite sex. So, if you can equate it this way, if someone wants to go out and impress someone else, they go out and they buy a nice shirt, they'll wear a really fancy watch. I don't know, I don't fall in for all that. Same principle applies with horns and antlers. The bigger the horns, the bigger the antlers, that is a reflection of the health of the animal and thus makes that individual more desirable to start another generation, to pass those awesome good genetics on. So just with about everything in nature, the end game is procreation. And that is going to wrap it up for me with the first Feathers and Fangs creature feature on animal headgear. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. After you subscribe, be sure to hit the little notification button under the bell so that you can know when First Feathers and Fangs posts new content. We are also on Facebook at facebook.com/firstfeathersfangs. Might be on Instagram soon, not sure, still kind of mulling that over. But once I'm there, then there'll be a link and all that good stuff. Social media, yay! Thank you so much for joining us this week. As always, this has been Zach. Have a wild day, everyone.